going for it. Kadra heads it down, Hasselbank edge of the area goes down, no free kick is given. Jimmy still on the floor, but here's Jimmy Downing. Downing then. Downing running beyond the fullback, whips a great looking ball in, header, goal! Massimo Macaroni!
I don't think I've ever got close in the way that I felt when that goal went in.
You won't ever experience drama like that. I don't care who you support.
It just doesn't happen, especially not to Boro. It was unbelievable.
When that second goal goes in, it was Goyan, wasn't it, I think? Did you ever think that that was it? It's done?
To be honest, I remember not being, despite what had happened, what was it, 2-3 weeks before, I remember not being optimistic in the slightest and being very much, my dad's of that age, I think, where, you know, he sort of grew up in the 80s and everything's all disappointing and you know, it's all going to go wrong. And so I think that's always rubbed off on me. I've always been quite a cynical Boro fan. I've never been your sort of Alistair Brownlee rose-tinted glasses type. I've always been like, oh, it's going to go wrong in it, this season, prime example, when we went on a good run and they all talking about the playoffs and we'll be happy, we'll be lucky to finish mid-table. But anyway, so I used to go to games with my dad, my uncle and my cousin. So cousin's the same age as me. And he very much, despite being of the same family, total opposite. So, it's all going to be fine. We're going to win it. And then next season, we're going to finish in the top 4 and all this, one of these types. So it was a really, really good contrast, our families, because it was very much both our dads really dour and then me sort of in the middle and him totally over end of the spectrum.
Well, we actually got up to leave after the second STEAUA goal. Because I was 17 or 18. No, I was 18. And we were going to go to the Empire immediately afterwards because it was like Club NME was on at the Empire on a Thursday then. And we used to go like every single week without fail. And it was really good for European games because you go to the game and then just go straight to the Empire afterwards. It was really good. And we were convinced we weren't going through. And then, that second STEAUA goal went in and we were like, oh, sod it, should we just make an early start on the night? And we got up and we went down to the concourse and went outside for a cigarette actually. And we were sort of talking and going but what if we do go through? So I'm sat there 2-0 down. I remember one of their fans running on the pitch. I still don't know to this day whether he had a heart attack or he slipped and broke his leg or whatever. But that slowed the game down completely because we were done really. I think it must have been half an hour in, we were 2 down. And my mate said to me, you might as well go home. He said, you go home, you've got to go to work in the morning. I was like, well, we're not going to get to another semi-final, are we? I might as well sit and watch it. Because it did look great in the stadium, full. I remember there was a lot of banners and that, which doesn't always happen. And then when Macaroni scored and it went to half-time, you're thinking, well, we need 3 in the second half. But we've done it before. We did it in the last round. So anything's possible.
Did I think it was over? Probably. You do. Your head tells you that's it. I mean, this is Boro, isn't it? We had the big comeback against Basel. How do you think we're going to do that? Twice on the bounce. It's just unthinkable. But then, like you say, he changes it around, and you can sort of see that it's happening again. And then, you frustrate them a little bit more towards half time. You get that goal, and you think, well, actually, we're still in it technically. As a game of football, we're still very much in it. Whether or not we're in the 2 legs, a bit of a stretch because you've got the away goal to factor in as well. But like I say, your heart tells you that we can do this. We've done it before. We can do it. We can do it again. But
the weird thing was, I've seen us play rubbish and be 2-0 down, 3-0 down in aggregate. Any other season, any other time, you would have written that game off. Absolutely, you'd have gone. Do you know what? Typical Boro. If I'd been at home, I probably would have turned the telly off. You'd have just gone, I'm really angry, whatever kind of thing. Because you were there, it was like, do you know what? All we need is 1. And because we'd done it previously, there was this weird belief. And when we got the 1, we were 3-1 down in a semi-final against what was a class European side. These weren't no mugs. And at half-time, everyone on the concourse going, do you think we can do it? And that was the belief. And I swear there was something about the belief in that stadium that was obviously pouring out onto the players. And it's like, if you could bottle that and have that in the crowd every week, that's your 12th man that people talk about. But you could see the belief, and you could see in the STEAUA Bucharest fans and players as well. As we got the second one, we were still like 3-2 down on aggregate, but they were starting to think, bloody hell, these lads did this the other week. They're not going to do it again.
And obviously, the second half kicked off. We got a couple of goals back. And the first one, I don't even think me and my dad got out of our chair. It's like, yeah, okay, consolation. I think we just stood up and clapped. It didn't even register that it would be another comeback. The second one goes in, and we sort of looked. Me and my dad looked across at each other. At this point, any animosity between us is gone as well. That's completely forgotten about. We sort of, that one was like proper. Yes, okay, we've scored, right? Okay, what's going on here? The third one goes in, and we went absolutely ballistic. We were sort of jumping around, hugging each other. Said, "It's happening. It's going to happen again."
I started to think it was going to happen or could happen when Viduka scored, because that gives you 30 minutes to get 2 goals, and that's easily doable. And they weren't really threatening that much from what I remember, although I think that changed as the game went on. And then when I think Chris Riggett scored, because I worked with his dad in Derby for a bit, so he was always telling me that like he's a 6-7 goal this season centre half, if you know, and he actually did pop up with a few goals. When he scored that, I think we still had nearly 30 minutes left, and then I thought it was going to happen. I really thought it was going to happen.
It's only really when, for me, when Hasselbank scores, that you think, well, it's a game now. Let's play for some prize, just beat them on the night, and then Riggett gets the goal. And there's still plenty of time left. You think, well, we are pretty much playing 5 up front now.
And the stadium was rocking, and Boro were just piling forward. But obviously, they were chucking more and more players forward, and STEAUA were then on the break a lot, which makes you nervous. If they score again, we're out. And then I'll be totally honest, at 90 minutes, I thought we were done. So, well, we've done it once, but it's not going to happen again. And obviously, what happened.
Well, talk me through that macaroni goal then, because I've watched the highlights back so many times, and you can see there's a steward celebrating it. So, can you try to sum up the emotion of that going in?
I can't really comprehend the feeling at the time. I just remember like hugging my cousin, and we're both quite little, so even then, so we would stand up on the seats. Despite being in our mid-teens, so it was probably a bit obnoxious, but we're both quite little, so we probably got away with it. And just, it was mental. It was so euphoric. And I don't think anything's ever come close to that, apart from possibly that Stuani goal against Brighton.
I just remember for about 6 days afterwards having bruises on my shins from where I'd kind of gone into the seat in front of me. And it's one of those where you don't realise that you've just, nearly broken the skin of your shins at the time because you're just too caught up in it. But I just remember it's one of those where the stranger next to you becomes your best friend, and all of a sudden you kind of like, you're just embracing them, and it's completely spontaneous.
We were stunned. I think my mum celebrated, but me and my dad just looked at each other. I specifically remember not even celebrating. We were absolutely just blown away by what had just happened. We couldn't believe it. And then I think after it seemed like 30 seconds. It was probably 5 to 10 seconds. We started celebrating. We just couldn't believe what had happened.
I don't know if I can ever describe that feeling. I'll say it was better than Cardiff when we won the cup. I still think that's the best Boro moment. I think it's better than Cardiff, better than some of the games in the 80s. I was at Chelsea when we went up 2 years in a row. That was a good feeling. But there was something different about this. So I sit in block 21, I'm in row 17, and I ended up in row 15, and that's never happened before. In the days of the Holgate, you could end up anywhere. But stadiums are more controlled now, aren't they? It's all seater. That just never happened. I had bruises on my shins from going over the seats and that, and it was everyone. There's a lady who was older than me sat next to me with her husband and kids. They'd disappeared somewhere halfway down the thing. It was incredible. It's just an incredible feeling.
That is if I look at moments of my life, not just as a fan, but all time moments of my life, and I was like, say I died tomorrow, hopefully I don't, but say I did, and they said you could relive 3 moments of your life on a loop, that night would be in the top 3, and that's got to stand for something. Do you know what I mean?
Moments like that tend to just be sort of really few and far between, but when they happen, everyone seems to be on the same level, and it's like that. But I mean, every goal in that game against STEAUA was a massive goal, and it's just kind of like someone was turning a dial, and it was heightened after every goal. And you thought, "Are we going to get there? Is it going to happen? It's going to happen." And then it happens. It's just absolutely incredible sort of crescendo of emotions. And like I say, I can't remember feeling like that as a Boro fan very often.